What's going on, ladies and gents? It's your boy FGC Gamma. It's been a while. You know, I've been doing a lot of stuff during the summertime. I actually have a couple interviews that I have in the chamber that I'm going to release later. But this one is special. This has to get out really quickly, and you guys already know who he is. If you're a part of the FGC, he really needs no introduction. But I'm going to have him introduce himself anyway. Who is on the show today? Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Well, I guess people call me BornFree. Recently, people have been calling me Mr. BornFree, which is really weird. I might change my name to Mr. BornFree, but my name is Mark.
Yes.
I live in New York, and I don't know. I just do a lot of fighting game stuff, content, and often interviews, and a lot of it's Street Fighter focused because that's kind of what I grew up with and what I love.
Yes.
Very similar to yourself, David. So.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So welcome to the show, Mr. Mark BornFree. Listen,
Thank
man.
you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'm definitely ready to pick your brain on a few things. And as you know, he already stated, he's one of the few guys that really does a lot of stuff in the FGC. See, I'm based out here in Atlanta, so I just do fighting around anything's in my backyard. But this guy, he's going to be a world warrior real soon, and he's already traveled the country pretty much hitting up every FGC event. So he has a lot of things that he can share with us, a lot of insight in the players, the events, and the game in general. But you said something that was very interesting, man. You said Street Fighter is something that you kind of grew up on. Now, I think I have this issue as well. I don't know if it's a problem or a preference, but as much fighting games are being released, right? I play, I dibble, I dabble. I do everything to get my hands on and really try to learn the game. But somehow, some way, no matter how much it hurts me, I get pulled right back into Street Fighter. That seems to be the case with you. We're like just the Capcom fanboys. We can't help it. So can you go ahead and explain why that is the case with you?
Because fighting games are hard, and they take a lot of effort, and they take a lot of time, and rather than being like rubbish at all of them, I'd rather be like mediocre or just above mediocre at one of them. You know, I also... You know, I grew up with Street Fighter. I relate to Street Fighter a lot. It's very hard to describe to people who are new, who weren't there, you know, at the very beginning. How much Street Fighter has affected certain people's lives, you know. And for me, Street Fighter just never kind of went away. It just kept reappearing wherever I went. It was always around. I was never really part of an FGC, but I was certainly Street Fighter was near and dear to me. Right.
Because you grew up overseas, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I grew up in England. I was born in England. I grew up on the south coast. There was arcades there.
Okay.
I remember Street Fighter 1 with the big punch. Remember the big
Street Fighter 1? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, before that, when I was a little boy, me and my brother used to play IK Plus, International Karate, on the Commodore 64, which is a machine I don't think you guys have over here, but effectively the PC. Where jump-ins worked really well. And you know, I loved that game. And then Street Fighter 1, it wasn't, you know, it didn't capture the imagination of many people, but it was interesting. It was in the arcade. It was just one of those machines where you were like, oh, what the fuck is this? And then one day Street Fighter 2 just dropped out of nowhere because, like, you know, you didn't really have marketing campaigns for arcade machines. You just went to the arcade, and then one day there was this fucking machine there, and you were like, "What is this?" I remember. I mean, I don't remember I just remember going to an arcade when I was on vacation, holiday, as the UK people would say. But me and my brother were at a holiday camp, which is I don't know if you guys have that over here or not, but it's just
like a summer camp type deal?
Yeah, it's like a staycation. Like you go with your parents, you stay in a little villa or something, and you basically, there's a bunch of stuff to do on the resort. It's more like a resort, I suppose. And there was an arcade there, and in that arcade there was Final Fight and Street Fighter, and people were just going nuts for it at the time. And that was my initial introduction to it. And then throughout my life, for some reason, there'd always be an arcade nearby, and there'd always be Street Fighter. And then when I got to America, there was the 360, and somehow I discovered they had Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting, which was what I grew up with on the SNES, but you could play it online. So you could play people online, and then that was that came just before Street Fighter 4. So Street Fighter is just it's always been there. But the other games, I buy them. I try to get into them a little bit. Like I'm more interested in what's going on. Like I just want to sort of know, like, well, you know, how fast are the load times? What you know, what features do they have? What's their story mode like? What's their arcade mode like? What's the multiverse like? What's their UX design, the UI? I'm really interested in all that sort of stuff. But in regards to actually dedicating time to actually playing a game, you know, I'm not like Sonic Fox. I can't play a game for 5 minutes and be the best in the world. Like You know, I take time. So, but I do think I will try and find some time. I've been thinking about maybe doing a little bit of a content series on Marvel. Okay. Which relates to sort of like as I learn, I turn it into videos, because there's no better way to learn something. This is really very selfish and personal, but there's no better way to learn something than to actually take the information, you know, and work through the information and then represent it, you know, like you would do with an essay. Right. But I'm thinking maybe I could learn Marvel and then push out some content at the same time for beginners and be like, learn with me, you know? So I don't know, but it really boils down to the fact that like I said, I'm not a Sonic Fox. I'm not somebody who can pick up 15 different games and just go, yeah, I get this. Right.
You're more like a locomotive, right? It may be slow churning, but once it get going, you're going, right?
I mean, you look at Daigo. It's really what was really interesting, I think, about this day and age is now we get to see how these top players start with the games. And I thought Street Fighter 5, being able to watch them online, you know, was amazing. Right. Because you saw the rate at which certain players pick up games. So Snake Eyes, for instance, you know, his day one Akuma was like still better than my day, you know, 100 Akuma. You know, like it was just ridiculous. Yeah. Whereas you looked at Daigo, who's like, you know, without doubt, probably the best Street Fighter player of all time, right? And really slow progress. Like he was grinding, but slow progress with Ryu. And Takeda was doing better, you know, picking that game up better. Yeah. And it's nice to know that, guess what? Daigo, the greatest player of all time, is kind of like the hare in The Hare and the Tortoise. It's kind of like the tortoise in The Hare and the Tortoise. You know, everybody else is the hare, but he's like, by the time we reach Capcom Cup, I'm going to cross that finish line before you.
It makes sense. Right.
So I find that really interesting in this day and age. But why are you so attracted to Street Fighter? Is that a time thing, or?
Yeah, it might be, because I'm also an '80s baby, and just listening to your story, it brings back a lot of memories, man. Like I was one of those kids that, in my area or neighborhood, right, we had this, we had arcade machines and laundromats, pizza parlors, and just random places, right? And there was a little corner store right across the street from my elementary school. And so my mom used to give me lunch, and like most of the kids that were into video games, it was a decision of, do I eat this cold cheese and ham, or do I use this dollar into the arcade? So basically I was hungry every day, right? I would go into the machines and play it, and everything you're saying just resonates. I'm like, yep, he's right. There was no marketing. It would be Double Dragon 2. A week later, it's like Street Fighter. You're like, what? Like how? Where did this come from? And that excitement, man. So I think that's what happened. Like nostalgia, growing up literally with this game. There's a much stronger connection than just, oh, you know, they're popular characters. No, this is my childhood. I remember, you know, being 12 years old, being 10 years old, being 15, and having clout because you were a good whatever. Like, oh, he's the best Bison, that guy right there, you know, playing basketball. So Street Fighter was a big deal in my community, and it was one of those things that I can kind of look back and think in just in a very innocent way and say, you know what, I can brag about that. You know, maybe not the other things, cutting school or getting in trouble, but I can at least brag about that part of my childhood. And, you know, like many people, I don't know if you were that good, but like many of us that are currently in FGC, we were always like the best on our block, the best on our street, neighborhood, or at least in your house, you know? Until you got to those arcades, that's when you were tested. So I remember that grind. You know, you would have like the line of quarters on the arcade, And that's how you would know like who's next. I'm like, hey, I'm the third quarter, and as the quarters go down, you know, like you just hop in line and play against whoever was the baddest kid. So Street Fighter has a ton of memories in my heart, and yes, like many others, I do complain, you know, about this and that, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, etc. But it's been such a part of my childhood that I can't forget. It's kind of like a timestamp. Like I can look back and say, oh yeah, Street Fighter 3, I remember it was this girl that I used to like and blah, blah, blah around this time. Street Fighter 2, oh yeah. I was like in 8th grade, and like I connected to so many other things too. So that's kind of what it is with me. And yes, Mortal Kombat came out, you know, in the 90s and so on and so forth. But in my particular area, there were lines and big crowds around this one machine. That just held the crown forever. And like you say, man, like when 360 came out, the internet became a thing, online gaming became a thing. I think for us, I'll say older guys, you know, 30 plus, 35 plus, we always connect that memory to the game. It's not just a new game and it's another fighting game. It just brings us back to this place that's special and magical. And so that's why I think a lot of the guys, like even Daigo, he's no spring chicken, you know, he's at least 35 or plus. You know, it's just something that we're always going to be connected to. So that's kind of my excuse. I love doing the other stuff, covering Injustice, covering this, covering that. But when I'm covering Street Fighter, I literally feel like I'm a 12, 13, 14-year-old kid, you know, just doing something crazy. So that's my excuse.
Yeah, and the community, I talk about this a lot. I don't know if I have talked about this actually, but I often wonder, you know, like with the backlash against Capcom, which I you know, understand on many levels. I've done a whole video about, you know, understanding why we shouldn't accept, you know, half-made games, right? And
okay.
So I kind of, there's a whole video I've got on it, which about like an hour long, where I'm talking to Velociraptor about it, and and trying to understand, you know, why the backlash is so vicious and all that sort of stuff. But what's interesting about Street Fighter is that no matter how much people sort of push back against Capcom and all that stuff, and I agree, like these games should be finished, they should be polished, they should be made with love, all those things. I'm excited about Dragon Ball because not because I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan, but because it's going to light a fire under Capcom, because it's the type of game, franchise, the look, the feel,
the quality,
the play style.
Right.
It's the kind of game where it will capture the eyes of many Capcom fans, particularly Marvel fans. And a lot of people are going to be playing that game, and it looks like it's going to be a well-rounded game as opposed to an esports, as opposed to an esports platform. Like it's an actual game, a video game. And I think that's what a lot of people forget, is like these things are you know, were originally designed as video games, and when they were designed in that way, the thought process is different. The thought process is, how can I make this as fun as possible? And what happens is when you think about it just as esports, you start to lose some of that, you know, that love, that attention to detail, the little things that make people smile, and make people, you know, that people enjoy. But I do remember back in the day, I meant to say that I did actually play all those games, because every week there'd be a new one, right? It started with Street Fighter, and then all of a sudden, bam, it was like, you know, Fatal Fury or Mortal Kombat.
Right. Tekken might come in,
Killer Instinct or Tekken, and I remember I would play them all at that time, but it wasn't, no one was any good, you know, like, no one was really that good. They just, the arcade tune turn up and you play it, and, you know, most of the time you weren't playing like professionals. It's very interesting to me, like looking at, for instance, the history in, you know, Southern California, and hearing people talk about that and the way that they really latched onto it and sort of created almost created the FGC and really started to break the games down and figure out how to be the best. Right. They did it really quickly. And it blows my mind, because in my head a video game in those days was just, it was folly, you know. It was just we did this, is done for fun. It's cool to be able to beat people.
Right. There was not that much science or anything. No,
there's no. I'm not going to sit here and figure out priority. You know, Alex Valle was talking about back in those days. They would say that moves had priority. You know, that stuff. Like I didn't think on that level at all. I just, everything was very intuitive, you know. But yeah, I was definitely I was the best on my block. I was the best on my block.
Right. We were all the best on our block, man. And so, just listening to like the history of Street Fighter, your history of Street Fighter, I can now understand why you share the sentiment with me. And this is the main reason why I reached out to you. You know, a lot of guys that follow me, whether it's the random streams that I might do, Discord, or just venting regularly, one thing they all know that I have a problem with when it comes to Street Fighter 5. And you are the only other guy that has mentioned this. You know, at least notable or visible guy. I know some people say it in the comments, etc. But as far as anyone that's really known and vocal about it, you're the only other one. So I said, yes, let me get my hands on Born. I want to hear his experience. I want to know why this is an important feature for him. And I also want to share some things. And that, of course, is the in-game chat. This feature was such a powerful thing. And I took it for granted. I really didn't know how much of the how much it enhanced the experience for me until I started playing without it. Then I was like, wow, I feel so lonely, man. I'm just waiting for the next match. I'm just sitting here playing some random gamer tag instead of exchanging data and talking about why we lost or won. It's just like, all right, bye. Like, I don't like this guy for 10 seconds. So get out of here. And then I'm on to the next. That in-game chat feature, you spoke on that and I said, yes, finally. So you did kind of touch on it in one of your recent vlogs, but I want you to dive a little deeper. And rather than just beating up Street Fighter 5, what I would like for us to do is maybe talk about why it was such a cool thing in Street Fighter 4, a little bit more in depth, and if possible, share some personal experiences, things that you remember that you might have done or, experienced, Street Fighter 4 with that feature.
Yeah, I mean, there was so first and foremost, I think all right, so the thing about in-game, the thing about being able to communicate with people in fighting games is so important because if you want to get better, you've got a million questions for your opponent. If I want to get better and I meet somebody who's not a complete, douchebag, right. I want to know, like, what can I punish? I can look all that shit up, fine. But, it's more fun to be able to interact with somebody and say, what can I punish? And they will share their experience with you. They won't just say, often it won't just be like, you can punish this. It will be like, you can punish this, but, and there'll be a million caveats and it'll explain the bigger, the whole thing, right? So there's that aspect to it, which you can get through in-game chat. You can also get that through messaging, which is also not viable on Street Fighter 5, maybe because they did cross-platform, I don't know, but it's like you don't even on PS4, if you play somebody on PS4 in a normal game, normally when you play somebody on PS4, you can go into, I remember there's a part where you can go into and it says this is the person you just played, and you can just instantly message them. In Street Fighter 5, they created this whole new sort of like CFNID thing, which because it's cross-platform and all that sort of stuff. And so what you have to do is you have to go to their profile, you have to find their real PSN name. And this is, by the way, if you're on PC and playing somebody on PS4, you can't contact them at all.
Oh, yeah.
But if it's PS4, then you have to find the name, you have to write it down, and you have to type it in.
Right.
Find them, message them, right?
That's true, yeah.
And so it's just it's really hard work. And apart from the learning aspect and the community aspect, right? Because look, live communities are great. Going out to your local is great. But guess what? I think Nemo said it when I interviewed him at ESL. I think he said one of the things that he had realized in being in New York for about 2 weeks was that he thought people got together more regularly than they do. And he found out that actually, no, they don't. They get together like once a week at NLBC for a few hours, not every single night. They're not like it, like in Japan, they'd be in the arcade every single night. Their cafes, as I understand it now, cater in a similar fashion. You go there every single night, those live communities are great, but there is something to be said for introverts like me. By the way, I'm an introvert.
Oh, okay.
I know, right? I know.
Right. Who would have thought?
I need like time away from people to recharge. That's what it really means. I need time away for people to recharge. And sometimes I just want to be at home playing online. In fact, most of my matches happen online.
Yeah.
And since I am that online warrior, I want to be able to communicate with people, and not even just the educational stuff. I always love the salty messages because it tells me I've done a job well done.
Yeah,
like if somebody's angry enough to send me a message, I'm like, I destroyed that person, and I'm sorry, but that's my guilty pleasure. That feels good. Like being somebody is good, but when you can destroy them badly enough for them to get that angry, wonderful. That's how it is. Right. And beyond that, right? You take that. And you used to have like the crazy people who would just talk throughout the match, and that would be hilarious as well. Yeah. And of course, you should be able to have the option to turn all that stuff off.
Exactly, you could just mute it. Yeah.
For children or whatever, or for yourself, whatever, right?
Right.
But it should be. I believe it should be an option. Yeah. Because I think it builds online communities. I know there are a lot of online communities outside of. I can put my Discord on and I can talk to somebody while I play them. It's all just it's a lot of organization. Whereas I want to meet people. I want to meet new people. I want to say like, listen, dude, you're a good Laura player. I don't know why I picked that character. Right. But,
is that even a thing, right?
Is that even a thing? But like you're a good Bison player, whatever, right? And you're about my level, maybe a bit better. And I would love to play more sets with you. So maybe we could, let's do that, and maybe we could talk, maybe you could tell me what are some of the things that I'm blatantly doing wrong that I'm not seeing. But the other side of it is, so you've got like the educational side, you've got the shit talking side of it as well. And the saucy messages, which by the way, I turned remember you used to be able to send voice messages?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it'd go up on me with the most hilarious voice message, which I turned into a video. It has thousands of views because it's just so funny.
Right.
But so there's an entertainment side to it as well, where which used to be very evident in popular shows like Excellent Adventures. Right. So Excellent Adventures, part of the show would be, they just sent a message.
Yeah.
That was a thing. Right, it isn't
people look
anymore.
Forward to that. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Right.
Character select screen was a thing. It isn't anymore. But like those two things were quite strong elements of the Street Fighter 4 era on Excellent Adventures. Was like, what's the message going to say? Right. And the message would be like hilarious, or it would be like it would be salty, or sometimes it hello, whatever. Right. But it was not just stuff that was going on in the game. It was stuff that was going on in media outside of the game, which added to the entertainment value of the game. Right. Me as a marketer, I used to work in marketing. I'm not currently in marketing. I walked away from it, or advertising to be precise. To me, that's great. When you can take when an element of your game becomes entertainment outside of your game, then that's an amazing thing. Yeah. So all of those things combined is why I'm a huge advocate for in-game messaging, in-game literal chat, in-game voice messages, whatever it is. Right. And it sucks that none of that exists anymore.
Absolutely, man.
You tell me, if your perspective.
It's funny because when you were telling me about the history of Street Fighter and what it means to you and why, and then I kind of shared similar sentiments, now I can understand why you and I both feel this way about the in-game chat. We come from that arcade era. We come from that community, that vibe, that trash talk, that you suck, or yo, how'd you do that? Like, this kind of makes sense now. Even though we're in a more digital world, we we miss those elements. And Street Fighter 4, for allowing that in-game chat, gave us that sense of connection again. It was like, it wasn't just, Street Fighter's back. It was like, I'm talking to this guy. He's screaming while I'm like doing, throw loops, or I'm just tick throwing them. Whatever the case is, it just kind of gave us a little bit of that arcade feel again. And then also, everything you say, I co-sign because I co-sign because I've also experienced it. I'll even give some personal experiences. A lot of the players that I interviewed back in the day, like maybe 2010, 2011, I met them online prior to meeting them in person. So we almost felt like we knew each other already. One example, and this is a lot of notable players. Like, for example, what's his name? Shine, right? This was around the time when he first beat Sanford Kelly. It was a big deal. He beat
with Goken, right?
Yes, he beat his Akuma with Goken.
Was that on a Saturday? Was that at Empire Arcadia?
That's it.
What the hell was that show called? I used to love that. I
can't remember that, and it was a big deal. And Shine was like 15 at the time, maybe younger. And I winded up running into him on a ranked match like that same week, right? And he didn't know who I was. I was just like, yo, because I seen the name. I don't know if he was FNEX Shine or just, 00 Shine. But whatever the case is, I was like, because he was playing Sim. I was like, yo, is this Shine? And he was, he's shy little kid at the time. He's like, yeah, it's me. And I was like, are you the same? And he was like, yeah, I'm the guy that beat Sanford Kelly. It's me. And it was funny how these exchanges and experience, and of course I got bodied, by the way, but it was funny. These things no longer happen. Another experience that I had, I met Strider before he even became a tournament player. And I had to tell him this, I think I told him this last year fighting around. I said, yo, what I used to do back in the day, I would go to the leaderboards, and we had the character leaderboards as well. And I would look for who was the top 5 in every character. And I just assumed that for you to have to spend this much time, energy, and effort in a game like this and get this many points, you had to know what you were doing. And because of the things that you touched on, such as voice messaging, I was able to send a message to those people that were like the top 5. And I would say, yo, I don't know who you are, but I'm just looking at the leaderboard. You have a ton of points. I would like to get some sets with you. Maybe you can help me out. Strider was one of those guys that responded. He wasn't even 808 Strider at the time. He was just Strider. And, Gustavo, he just hit me back. Of course, he bodied me. He was playing Alex at the time. So these are all the experiences that we no longer have. It's just everything is, I guess that's why Twitch is popping. Because, Twitch is like you're hearing the people play. I mean, hearing them talk as they're playing. But it's no longer interactive as the way it used to be. The last experience I'll share is, and I'm sure you know who he is, Aqua Silk. He's a Geef player from NY area. He was like the East Coast.
I've not heard of him like in Street Fighter 5, but
yeah. I don't know what he's doing if he's in school, but he was the Geef in the East Coast, like the equivalent of Snake Eyes. You had Snake Eyes in the West, you had Aqua Silk in the East. At the time, I was trying to learn Geef. I always liked Geef, but in Street Fighter 4, I was really rusty. So I sent the message to Aqua Silk. I was like, yo, bro, I'm hoping that, you can maybe teach me a thing or two, get back whenever you get a chance. I didn't even know he was online. Less than 5 minutes later, he sent me a message, hey, let's get a 1st to 10. I was like, cool, this is awesome. So I hop in the room, and like you said, we were talking while we were playing. It was sometimes we weren't even playing. We were just like, 2 Geefs standing there doing like, their random posts, and we're just talking. He's like, the reason why I keep dizzying you, Geef's headbutt does this. 2 of those headbutts and you're dead. Like, I missed that, man. And I remember, and Aqua Silk, he can vouch for this, man. We literally spent hours playing. So again, man, I got stories and stories and stories. And then even the trolling. I'm guilty. I trolled myself. I had like this account, Smurf account, like, 10-year-old kid, something like that. And then they'll hear, they'll hear this voice. I was like, you're not no damn kid, but it was just fun, man. Like all of these little elements were cool. Like I'm beating the brakes off of this guy, he's screaming like, yo, this 10-year-old, he's freaking a prodigy. Then I come in the mic like, no, I'm not 10. I'm just some old guy in, my mother's basement. Listen, man, whatever it was, I missed all of it. But like you also said, for those that are salty, you could just mute the person. You didn't have to like be tortured throughout the match. You know what I mean? So it was something for everyone. If you didn't care for it, just hit mute.
I just wanted to interject there, actually. That's my point, because whenever I bring up the idea of chat, there's, there is a group of people who want it. When I say chat, I just mean any form of communication. There's a group of people who want it, and then there's a whole group of people who don't, right?
Yeah, totally against it,
and they get really angry. And my thing is this: if you don't want to participate, there should be hopefully there should be an option where you can just turn that off.
Right.
You can block messages, and you can turn off chat, and that's that. But
it's kind of like the background music. Just turn it off. You know.
I think the option should be there.
I
think the option should be there. essentially. It's interesting. I get why some of the younger guys don't like it, because I get why some people don't like it. Like, fighting games are hard, and being told that you're trash hurts because you're not part of a team. You know, people love team games because they lose, and it doesn't really matter because they're part of a team that lost.
Right.
So there's no personal responsibility taken there. The problem with fighting games is somebody will beat you 10-0 and go, "You're fucking trash, mate."
Send you a voicemail to remind you too, right?
It takes a certain type of person that, you know, to be able to either continue or quit, I suppose. But it takes a certain type of person to continue. Certainly takes a special type of person to decide that they're going to knuckle down and figure out how they're going to win. Right. Whereas the group game, you know, you play Call of Duty and you get on a team of 10, and you just, you know, it doesn't matter. You can lose 10 games in a row. At the end of the day, you can sit there and blame everybody else.
Or we all lost.
You know, or you or my team compromised me or whatever. You know, like, yeah, it's a lot softer. You know, in that regard. It is. And some people don't. You know, they don't. And it's fair enough. They don't want to listen to some fucking moron talking to them. You know, or being a dick all the way through the game or whatever. That's fine. Like, there should be an option where you can turn it off. But it, you know, it's irritating when you bring up like the idea of let's bring communication back into the game, and there's somebody going, "God no, that's the worst idea ever." Right. Well, you might not like it, but can we at least have the option, and you can have the option to turn it off?
Exactly.
I think that would be kind of cool.
Right. That's the way I look at it, man. You know, because I mean, at the same time, as much as I love it, I did have a few experiences where I had to mute people because they might have left their mic on by accident. I'm hearing like dishes drop in the background. I'm like, okay, I can't focus. There's no way.
Or somebody talking to somebody else, like on the phone or something.
Exactly.
And you're just like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want it. Like, Call of Duty was like that all the time. I just remember there'd be like 10 people in a room, and there'd be like this one guy on the fucking somebody, and you just be like, what is this shit?
You could always mute it, man. Like, I'm hearing elephants and we're not on sim stage. I'm like, what the hell is going on, man? This shouldn't be happening. But I love that feature, man. And like I said, I don't know if it's maybe people that fit within a certain demographic, or, you know, there are younger ones that can appreciate it. But I just have stories upon stories of how I connected with so many players. And most of these guys I still haven't met in person to this day. It's just we know each other online. Like, we heard each other's voices. We may have seen each other's YouTube videos. We've spoke. So we know, like, you know, this is a real person behind the gamer tag. It's not just some button mashing idiot, some random person that's not even interested in the game. They just bought it on sale out of a value bin or whatever the case is. This kind of creates more camaraderie and enhances the experience overall. And when we use the term FGC, I always say, come on, man, you know, we're not just a bunch of people that like playing fighting games. We're supposed to be a community. We really are supposed to, you know, grow this thing that we call the FGC. And I think one of the biggest things, I don't know if it's Capcom that just dropped the ball, or they really didn't know how much of an impact this would have, but is the in-game chat, or just chat, like you said, in general, whether it's voice, text, something. Because now when I play the game, I have it on PC and PS4. I play the game like in 30-minute, you know, like increments, and I really don't feel no connection. Yes, even if I have like a 20-game win streak, I'm like, okay, I'm done, because there's nothing there for me to keep going. The replay value is not as strong. I don't have someone that I can talk to and say, I just bodied you in ranked. Let's go into casuals. Let's talk about why I keep beating you. You need the block crush counter. Stop pushing buttons on weight. Stop. There's none of that. It's just, okay, this guy's good. He beat me. He's bad. He sucks. And then I'm done for the day. You know, it doesn't feel like I'm connecting with the game, and part of that is because it's not just the game; it's people that are playing the game, and those people I'm unable to connect with as much or as easy without that feature. So I don't know, man. Maybe there's some guy in the janitor's closet that's going to be watching this on a laptop, and he was told that he's going to be let go from Capcom unless he comes up with an idea. So hopefully this video will get to him and bring that back, man. And speaking of bringing it back, man, this is the last thing I want to touch on before I let you go. This was kind of like a quick impromptu video that I'm doing with you. You covered this because the announcement was just made. Street Fighter 5 Arcade Edition, man. You've been doing a lot of videos on Street Fighter. You actually somewhat did I would like to say a wish list video. Then this was announced, and you have a little bit of time. I don't know if it's enough to jump in and do anything and add anything, but I just want to ask you anyway, even though you may have covered this in your video, what is the top three? The top three things that you absolutely hope and wish will be added in Street Fighter 5 Arcade Edition?
It's interesting because there's my personal list, and there's like there was a list there's a lot of things I put in my list which related more to the community and what I was listening to and trying to understand. Like, so for instance, when I talked about arcade mode, that's not like my number one thing.
Oh, okay.
No, this is where people get confused. Like a lot of my videos, I often try to represent groups of people, and or a point of view, or try to understand a point of view, and try to, a lot of the time I try to, I went through a phase of, doing a lot of collecting, Street Fighter stuff, and reading comic books and watching, video or whatever. Like, just, I was open to a world. I was in communities of people who did nothing but talk about Street Fighter. Right. But they didn't play the game. Right. So this was, to me, was a huge missed opportunity for Capcom. There's a whole bunch of people who have fond memories of Street Fighter 2, and it's an evergreen franchise for them. And it's like, I will buy the artwork. Look at this cool art. I've got this limited edition version. I will buy a statue. I will buy the old figures. I will buy, like a disc of the anime. I will buy the comic books. I'll buy this, that, and the other. I will go cosplay as it. I will do these amazing things. I'll play Puzzle Fighter, whatever. But I won't play Street Fighter. And because I'm trash and I just don't understand it like I did when I was a kid or whatever. So that's a very deep subject. But every now and then, when a million people go, I really want arcade mode, and what they're probably really saying is, I really just want to be able to enjoy this game kind of on my own.
Exactly.
I don't want to play ranked. Like, it's not a fun experience for me. Then that to me is interesting, and so I will explore that aspect of it and go, all right, I think the game needs this, because I think it actually is helpful to have people buy the game. Because sales of a game is usually a good thing. It means that Capcom, you and I come from a time when Capcom stopped making Street Fighter. Right? Like, there was Third Strike, which was a commercial flop, and they went, we're out. Right?
Started playing Mario Brothers again.
They just stopped. So most people nowadays, younger people don't think of that as a thing. But like me, I'm like, if this game doesn't fucking sell, like, there's not going to be another Street Fighter.
And that's we know it can happen again. You're right.
For me, it's going to be kind of a sad thing. I'm always, to me, there's a part, and also if a game sells well, the Capcom should invest more. They should invest more in esports, and it should be better for the FGC. So there's that, and then there's, how do you recruit new players? Now, there's a million different ways. And by the way, on Twitter, people are, I hate Twitter because people take headlines, they don't watch videos, and they go, your answer is wrong. But, like, when I talk about arcade mode, I think it's, there's a group of people who want to play arcade mode. And there's and I think there's an opportunity to actually sort of, if the game was operating in the right way, and they were producing arcade mode and a bunch of other amazing single player content, which kind of pushed you along, and then eventually made sort of like enticed you into maybe watching a stream, or maybe even playing some online games. That's a recruitment tool, right? So I think that's kind of interesting. In regards to this game, I personally would love to see in-game communication, for sure. I think I definitely would like to see, there's a million answers to this sort of problem. right?
Okay.
But I would like to see the game become a little bit less linear and a little bit more interesting to watch. The characters have options.
Right.
That they can be. The word has been overused. It's become a meme. But this idea of creativity.
Okay.
You know, that you can express yourself with the character. You know, I talked to a lot of players who kept saying all Nakalis are the same. You know, all Camis are the same. All
right.
And you know, one of the few characters that does have a lot of options and has some interesting creative solutions to situations is Akuma.
Yes.
As expressed to us via Takedo.
Yeah.
You know, that Evo top 8 was probably the best thing that could have happened to Street Fighter 5. You know, I love Punk, but like that kind of had to happen.
Right.
To sort of keep somebody alive for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, seeing, you know, I love a lot of these players, but seeing like Haitani win with Nakali is the most boring fucking thing in the world for me.
Right.
Whereas seeing Takedo win with Akuma, I think is really interesting. Seeing Goichi playing as Manat is very interesting. A lot of the newer characters have got more options and seem more interesting.
Yeah.
So I hope, I don't know that just the second V-Trigger is going to do it. I'm hoping that there's more gameplay aspects that they've changed that will make it more interesting. You know, Street Fighter 4 had the FADC. A lot of very popular fighting games have some sort of cancel in them, which may require bar or not, you know, whether it be a Roman cancel or something, which allows you to go, all right, here's my combo, and then bam, I hit cancel, and I can continue and do some other stuff.
Right. Keep the pressure.
And it might be that I choose to do more damage. It might be that the scaling is so hard that I just want to put you in a situation. I want to position you in a certain way.
Right.
Whatever. You've got decisions to make, right? Like you got more options. You've got more decisions to make. So. So one is chat, one is in-game communication, one is can they find a way of making the game less linear and giving it more, you know, each character more options, and therefore making them more interesting to watch as well.
Right.
And then let me think. Number 3 would be probably just for the good of the game, single-player content. Well, not just single-player content. Like it's coming, right? Single-player content is coming. Just, you know, that loving touch, you know, the well-rounded, like this, because it's going to get reviewed again, right? And when it gets reviewed, I want to feel like this game is well-rounded and loved, built with love. You know, you can feel it. When you see the Dragon Ball stuff, you go, wow. There's a whole group of people working on this game who love it, who are building what they consider to be a masterpiece, right? So I want, you know, I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I sort of have a 4, but like that's a big part of it. So bringing back that character, you know, the personality quirks of characters. You know, can we have more taunts that actually do something? You know, stuff like that.
Okay.
Cool.
Are you leaning towards maybe like an Alpha 3-ish kind of interaction with the cutscenes, etc.? Some video, maybe, you know, not just the freeze frames, or is that too much? Like in other words, what does that look like for you? Like bringing it back.
I think, you know, in Street Fighter 4, you actually had 10 taunts. Remember, you had like 10 taunts which you could choose from. Yeah. That was somebody going. This game needs personality. You know, like it should be built with personality, and I'm going to give people 10 taunts. You know, 10 taunts might be excessive. I don't know, but like, it would be cool if I have a Kuma and his taunt does something. You know, and you know, Takedo uses it to demoralize his. You know, to demoralize him.
I'm seeing it right now as you say.
He doesn't teabag, but he'll use the taunt, and it's actually a risk. You know, because usually he has them at, you know, like this much energy, and it's like all you have to do, Takedo, is throw. And he's like, no, I'm going to taunt, and I'm going to taunt into a DP or whatever, right? And bizarrely, the hitbox on the taunt is not that big. You actually have to be right next close to them. But that's a whole nother story. But I would love them to see add more like I'm cheating because I'm sort of adding a lot of stuff, but like single player content / personality / love. You know, okay, this is how I summarize it. I want it to be a video game that's fun for people to play and not just a bare bones esports platform. And I think that's what we're getting, which is great. My fourth one, I'll just add really quickly.
Okay.
User experience.
Yeah.
I've said it in my videos. Sitting on loading screens for 2 minutes before you actually get to the main menu or whatever, like the amount of time it takes to do anything is, in this day and age, it's 2017.
Right.
It's a huge turn. Inside, user experience has the word experience in it. The way that it makes you feel is like, what have I bought?
Right, no value of your time. Yeah, it's just
it doesn't respect your time.
Yeah, just sit around and wait. You'll get a match one day.
And it's like, what have I? You already feel like crap before you get into the game. I've seen videos of Sarko with 2 setups because of the load times, because he wants to make the best use of his time. So he's always on one, and then while that's loading, he's on the other.
Wow.
I have things that I do during loading screens. Like I piss off into the kitchen to go get a drink or something, while my online match is loading up. Like I've learnt to figure out like how to be more efficient around the game. And I just wish that user experience, those loading times were shortened, that user experience with like replays. I don't understand how in Street Fighter 4 you could just go watch a replay. And Street Fighter 5, you have to go down and
you gotta be a private investigator. The
user experience.
You gotta go here, take this, put it there.
Exactly. That's the user interface. That's the intuitive. And what's interesting is they said we've upgraded the user interface, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, you changed the colors? Right.
You put some yellow.
Usually UI is all about how you interact with the screen. Like, Apple became famous and big for a reason, because everything was about design, but in particular, like intuitiveness, like turning it on and the thing doesn't make you feel dumb. There's not battle setting, Apple, different thing, but like there never used to be battle setting, I sort of understand it as an idea, like I sort of get it. I sort of get it, like I sort of get like, hey, I want to do all my settings up front so that I can just get in and out of games quickly.
But it kind of defeats the purpose, right? Because you wait much longer now. So it's like, pick who you want to play with and sit around for 10 minutes, and then we'll speed up the match.
And again, like Excellent Adventures, they couldn't do the kind of funny chit chat on the rank, going into rank match because people because points, and it was funny and they cared about points and whatever. And you would meet people at a similar rank, you'd meet random people and all that sort of stuff. But there's no character select screen in Street Fighter 5. So it's like that whole aspect of the show. I keep referring to them because they're sort of like a good example of how you take what you experience yourself. But there's a mirror there, and they have fun on the character selection. And that's no longer a thing. I mean that I guess those are my 4 things.
No, they were good, man. They were good. Again, I'm hoping that someone somehow hears this and may consider it, because like you said, you do strive to speak for a lot of others, not just yourself. And I've heard these same complaints throughout the community, again, whether it's in comments, chats, when I do a live stream every now and then. And I think that's kind of what Capcom wants to do. Maybe they're not doing it effectively or doing it as efficiently as they should, but they do want to please as many people as they can. And so if they can add these, implement these things, it would be awesome. But to kind of wrap it up on a good note, 2 things that I want to ask you, man. First of all, let me say this. Is there anything you believe or feel Street Fighter 5 has done right? Even if it's a brand new thing that they're doing or have done. Is there anything that you like about this game that said, you know what? Yeah, I like this. And if so, what is it?
I mean, I think I was thinking about this the other day, actually, because it took a long time for people to get over the fact that it didn't have the same kind of like rule set or skill set as Street Fighter 4.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't really like there's a lot of aspects to it they don't like, some crush counters in neutral and stuff like that, and some of the 50-50 guessing.
Right.
But I don't know, I guess like there was a part of me that felt like, well, look, they try to bring something new, they try to create something new, and I'm getting more and more used to it as a game.
Right.
And I think with some tweaking it could be a really great game, and another thing that I love is Akuma.
Okay.
I loved Akuma in Street Fighter 4, but I particularly love him in Street Fighter 5 because he's definitely one of those characters that has more options, is more interesting to watch, and I particularly enjoy watching Takedo play as Akuma. I think it's really enjoyable. And even Wild Man Akuma, I think is kind of an interesting idea. Like it's not a new idea. There's a freaking, I think it's either Ryu Final or the Alpha comic mangas, which are really famous from back in the 90s.
Right.
Where Akuma has long, wild, crazy hair. In fact, the alt costume for Evil Ryu, where he has the long hair, he looks like he's from a horror movie. That is literally taken from a manga of Akuma, who has the same long hair.
Oh, okay.
So even though everyone hates Wild Man Akuma because of I think the main issue is they kept the top knot, and they didn't execute it very well, but they kept the top knot because of branding. And there's actually images of concepts which they drew of him without the top knot, which I think is better, but whatever.
Right.
I think I applaud some of the things they have attempted to do. I just think that what happened, my guess, with using all the empathy in the world, is that they were forced into an extraordinarily tight deadline, and I think this game shouldn't have been released when it was released. That's not new news to anybody. I think they would have been better off waiting probably another year, just to work behind the scenes and not have to deal with all the shit. Not release a half-finished game and then deal with all the crap on top of trying to develop arcade.
You're right, though. I agree, man. Because there were a lot of YouTubers, and we're talking I don't want to say their names, but super popular YouTubers, 5 million subscribers and up, that just ranted on this game. They're not part of the FGC. They may not even really play fighting games, but they're gamers. They're like YouTube gamers. And so whatever is hot, whatever's new, they'll get a hold of it. And because everything that we always talk about, and I think everyone knows this, it was kind of a bare bones game. They just kind of focused on that. And then they never returned. They don't know about Season 2 and the updates and the current build. They were just like, oh, this game sucks. When I'm waiting for a match, blah, blah, blah. So I absolutely agree. They should have waited.
The other thing I love is the graphics, actually. I think the graphics are great.
Yeah. Oh, that too. I do remember the first time I played it on PC, because I also have Street Fighter 4 on PC. And I was thinking it's probably not going to look that good. It looked amazing, man. I said, wow. Completely different, And I was blown when Street Fighter 4 came out, because at that time I'm still used to Turbo and Champion Edition.
It's been such a long time. Yeah, it's been such a long time.
Right. And I'm seeing Ryu, the definition in his arms and the veins. I'm like, oh, okay. So Street Fighter 5 just kind of took it to a whole new level. And
what is it you like about Street Fighter 5?
Wow, man. I'm probably one of the toughest questions I've ever been asking.
Well, you asked me, so.
Right? You know what? Okay. Man, this is a really tough question, because I want to be as honest as possible.
I think there's obviously the fact that it's Street Fighter, and it has a bunch of characters in it that we recognize, and it has Dragon Punches, and it has fireballs, and there's all that stuff which is we don't even think about anymore. But no, we're obviously attracted to.
Well, Street Fighter 5. Okay, I'm playing Bison right now, Street Fighter 5.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess one of the things that I like, and it may be very specific to the character, not so much the overall game, but I really enjoy playing Bison, because for me, it gives me a feel of I'm really not a Shoto player, so I like to get in your face. And before I was playing Bison, I was playing Geef. So I'm always one that, like, I like to be the aggressor. I like to kind of give you that intimidation feel. And Bison, he has a very slow walk speed, but he walks like a boss, man. Just the way he's walking, it's kind of like I'm going to do something sinister when I get my hands on you. So there are little nuances like that, little subtle things that I like. I feel like this game has this kind of, I don't want to say, maybe darker feel, than some of the other Street Fighters. Like Street Fighter Alpha was very bright, vibrant, and even the background, you had like playgrounds and little silly things would happen here and there. And Street Fighter 5, it feels a little bit more grown, a little bit more mature, and it has in certain aspects like a very sinister feel. I think they can spin that even a little bit more, but I do like what they tried to do, like even with Nikali, Bison stage, for example. Not the original, Thailand throwback, but I guess that's the stage with the globe in the background. Like I like that, but the main thing I like the most is the it just came to me. The stage transitions when you can knock them through stuff. Like I love that, man. Okay. Here's why I love that. Now it came back to me. Street Fighter 4 Vanilla, right? I don't know if you remember this, and this is just how detailed I am. There was a point where when you KO'd your opponent, you can actually get like an extra hit or two after the KO. This isn't vanilla, so you can like KO, you'll knock them out. Yeah. Yes, I'm a sucker for that. I loved it, and I used to call it overkill. So you do like your super or whatever ultra, then you just kind of punch them again on the floor, or just kind of sweep them after the KO. That was such an awesome thing. You talk about salt. You talk about adding insult to injury, man. And so Street Fighter 5, when they had, when they introduced like the stage transitions, I think initially it was only like maybe one stage that had it, one or two stages. Then now it's like almost every other stage has it. At least half the stages have the ability to knock you through some wall or have you spinning through a cannon or whatever. That I love. It's silly, it's subtle, but it just adds this thing to the game where it's like, look, I'm here to destroy you. I want to annihilate you. We're not just playing, ping pong or table tennis. I'm going to take your face, smash it into the wall. I love those things, man. Even like Nikali, when he grabs your head and he's like, I don't play Nikali, so when that happens to me, I'm sitting there with the controller like, oh my gosh, should I go take a nap or a shower? Like, it's just so demoralizing. Like someone's holding your face. But yeah, I like that. So it's really random, but those are kind of the things I like in Street Fighter 5. And I'm actually hoping they do that with all the stages and even more. Like, bring more stages and have, like, there's the Bison critical art on the, what is it, the waterfall stage, the Ryu stage, I think it's called. I always wish that he can like kind of do it and send you through the cavern into like the tomb when he does his critical art and smashes, because it appears as though he should be able to go into it. I'm silly like that, but yeah, Street Fighter 5, I think they did that right. Like I really enjoy that, and that's kind of the few moments where when I do win and smash you through something and like the snowman hits your face. I'm like, you deserve that. You kept, mashing Jack. You deserve.
Ken players deserve it.
I love seeing a bowl of soup or noodles on the Ken player's head. So that's the thing I like the most. And again, I like
the bananas on the banana head.
Exactly. That's such a beautiful thing. But yeah, and again, I come from the old school, so those little things matter to us, man. When you were able to do those little.
That's what a video game is, right. People. It's funny because people will pretend. When I ask pro players, they love all that stuff.
Right.
They're like, it's really interesting. But then you've got the middle of the road people who are like, I'm hardcore FGC. All I care about is frame data and hitboxes.
Right.
And you're like, really, is that true? And then the minute you take shit away, the minute you take Wolverine away, the minute you take characters away from them, which by the way, are represented by other characters as functions. Yeah. They cry. The minute you take away the good graphics, there's a problem. So it's like you have this sort of, you used to have, I don't know if they've gone away now or they've rethought their position on things, but you used to have these groups of people who would say, I don't care about anything but hitboxes and fucking frame data. And they don't realize that actually they are emotionally attached to certain characters, that they do want Wolverine. They don't want,
and their fight record is like 10 and 500,
they don't want the function of Wolverine. They don't want the okay, we can't use Wolverine because of Disney, so we're going to make this other character who works exactly the same as Wolverine. You know, like, or Sentinel or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They do care. People do care about that stuff, and I think the point I'm making is that what you're describing is details, fun things that don't matter to esports, but do matter to a gaming experience, a fun video game.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with having something which operates as a fun video game and can be used in esports.
Right.
I think that what we've experienced is, here's the bare bones esports experience, and I don't. Me personally, I would like to see like a fully fledged game, like a lot of other games, which is, where the user experience is great, the user interface is intuitive, in the tutorials are better, the story mode is better, the arcade mode is there, the loading times, like blah 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 blah, and also the personality, the little details, the bit where they go above and beyond. This, they have done some stage transitions, and that's what you've picked up on is like, I like these little details, and I wish they'd push them further, and that's what I mean by personality. It's that's the love, that's the attention, and that's the detail that gets put into a game. And I think I feel like Capcom is, I don't know, I have no idea. Looking from the outside, you can only guess, but it feels like under-resourced. It feels like the deadlines are too hardcore, and therefore they end up just doing shit, this is the best we can do in the time we have. Here you go. And it would be, and then you have this sort of what appears, well, it's not even like appears, it because there was a press release, which the bad communication between Japan and America. Like, that's the weirdest thing in the world, was to see that press release in Japan, which basically said it's Capcom USA's fault that you're not getting a character this month because we never promised a character every 2 months. Bizarre press release. Like, it's not really what companies do.
Maybe they need an in-game chat, like they can kind of see what's going on. During their lunch breaks, they can communicate better and know what's going on.
This is why communication is so low on the priorities. Because they're just like, why would anyone want to talk to each other?
No, man, so that's kind of it, man. I'm just glad that I was able to get my hands on you, because like I said, there's a lot of things going on right now with Street Fighter. We're just months away from the new release, and I know by then you're going to be covering it and doing a lot of other stuff too, and maybe I'll get a chance to sit down with you again and talk about whether or not anything we discuss is in the game and how we feel about the game. But I just wanted to get my hands on you because, again, you're one of the few people that were really vocal about the in-game chat, and I feel like that is such an important thing. There are many people who did enjoy that aspect of the game, but I guess they just kind of let it go and say, you know what, it's a new game. But
some people hate it. There's a whole group of there's a new generation, I feel. Every time I talk about it feels like there's a new generation of people who hate it. And I think that might be based on some experiences they've had in
in life.
They just don't get, it's not something they're down with, like and maybe they don't see the value in it, and maybe they've just had bad experiences with it. And certainly, like, if they've been playing a lot of Call of Duty or something like that, then the experience is just a very bad one.
Exactly.
And you get trolled a lot and all this sort of stuff, but every now and then, what happens is you bump into somebody who is cool. And that's and you add them to your friends list, and they're of a good skill level, and you help each other, because they tell you what you're doing wrong, you tell them what they're doing wrong, they tell you how to punish their moves, you tell them how to punish your moves, and that's what I kind of miss.
There's a lot of benefits to it, man. I think the pros far outweigh the cons. And just to be, diplomatic in the sense, if you don't like it, the option of not using it should be there as well. And there's a ton of things right now in the game that I can care less about. Profile colors schemes, profile icons, and you can buy the. I don't care, but I also don't think it needs to be removed, because there are people, like you said, they're more of a, they come from a collector base. They enjoy those little nuances and details and things like that. So even though I don't care for them, I appreciate the fact that it's there, available for those that do. In fact, you touched on something earlier that I wanted to follow up on. You said that there is a group of people who just want to play the game, not necessarily online or even against another human. I have Injustice on PC, and I have yet to play rank. I bought the game because I wanted to see the endings. I love that's it. Like, so I'm actually guilty of that. As you were saying, I was like, yeah,
because it's not my main. Because it's not my main game.
Right.
I don't have the time to invest in getting good at Injustice, but I'll buy the game and I'll check out some of the other stuff.
That's it. And, I just wanted to see all the endings, and that was it. Yep.
Yeah. And so I think, like, I want people to understand something, and that is that there isn't one single game mode. Like, it isn't like arcade mode is going to save Street Fighter. It's just that, like, there are a million different ways to bring people joy in regards to fighting games. And when people start to feel joy in fighting games, then they sort of there are ways, it's like a gateway in.
Right.
So it might be arcade mode. It might not be arcade mode. It might be a totally different experience. It might be. It might be that we need more, live locals, whatever. I don't know. Right? There's a million different ways of getting people interested. But the point is, at the end of the day, I think most of us want to see the FGC grow.
Yes.
And and that happens in a lot of different ways. And I think, it's not the arcade mode just was a hot button for people, right? For the average video gamer,
right?
And I think you do have to understand that there are people that aren't in the hardcore FGC who would be willing to kind of buy Street Fighter because they get to play arcade mode like they used to, and some of those people might find their way into watching a stream, which is great. Because they know the characters, they roughly know the moves, and so they can sort of get onto a stream and watch like competitors play and be like, interesting, and then they might even start playing online. These are all. There are lots and lots of tools and ways of getting people invested in fighting games, and then potentially invested in the FGC.
Absolutely, man.
And so I don't think that I don't think that I'm not saying people. Saw the headline on one of my videos about arcade mode and were like, that's not the answer. No, it's not. It's not.
There's no one answer. Right.
The answer.
Right.
It's one aspect.
Yes.
That could be helpful. Because guess what? There's a gazillion people who just keep talking about it and want it. And if you listen to them for a second, if you read their comments, you'll understand why. Even professional players. There's some professional players who've gone out and actually said, this is why I love arcade mode. I've interviewed players like that. I've interviewed John Takeuchi, a very young player, who said, I said to him, what do you want to see in the future of Street Fighter 5? And I was expecting him to talk about crush counters or cancels or something really game related. He said, I want to see arcade mode.
Right.
And this is one of the best Rashids in the world. Right? I'm like, you want to see arcade mode? Why do you want to see arcade mode? I really like beating up the car.
Yeah.
I like that. It's not even like because arcade mode is like a great recruitment tool, or arcade mode is a really good way to practice, or arcade mode is this, that, and the other. I like beating up the car. Right. And then I think I may have asked him why, and there was really no response to that. It's just because I like beating up the car. Right. There's nothing more to it than that, but it boils down to that sort of emotional connection to games and like what do you define as fun? And guess what? There's a whole bunch of people who really enjoy playing arcade mode, and some of them really fucking love beating up the car, or like the barrel stage, or redoing the game over and over until they get higher and higher score. There's going to be an arcade ladder. I think it's really interesting that there's going to be an arcade ladder, because I think I find that incredibly intriguing. Like, I'm really interested to know, like, who's going to be like the best arcade mode player in the world.
Right.
You're gonna be like one of those speedrun guys, you know, like those guys who like are on forums every day breaking it down. Like, this is how you beat Zangief.
Right.
The highest score. You have to finish with an ultra and this and that, and you know it's gonna be.
I'm hoping they do that, man. I'm hoping they do that. But well said, though. I think you captured really what the essence of a lot of the gripe, you know, people have about Street Fighter V. We simply want options. That's it. There's no one fixer, you know, upper. There's no one answer to all of these different problems. We just need options. That's why the term bare bones was thrown around so much. It just seemed like such a limited game. Like, hey, you either do this or that or don't play. We want the ability to say, okay, I'm playing only ranked today, maybe casuals, maybe I'm going to invite a friend and we're just going to chat and talk about how to level up on this character. We just want options, man. It doesn't have to be one aspect is going to fix it all, because again, the community is cool, you know, but we're all different people, different walks of lives, different experiences coming together for one game. So I think the more options, the better, because then you're going to cover someone's needs and wants and make maybe not everyone happy, but the majority. And so I really like the way you put it, man. And so with that, we're going to wrap up. You know, BornFree, I definitely want to thank you, man, for sitting down and chopping it up with me. I know you've been doing a ton of things. I'm so grateful that you're doing it, because, again, I'm based out here in Atlanta, but you have been traveling all around, hopefully internationally. Have you had a chance to go out the country as of yet? Because we're looking forward to you maybe covering Evo Japan or... You know,
I mean,
get your passport stamped. You know, I mean, any plans anytime soon?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm actually very I don't mean to end on a down note, but I'm a little concerned about. It's not the end of the world. It's just
right.
I'm a little concerned about my future in regards to, you know, producing content and all that sort of stuff, because you know, a lot of this, you know, is a lot of the way that I've been able to sort of continue doing what I'm doing is because I had a really cool job,
right.
You know, and I had all these savings and stuff, and now that's sort of disappearing. So I have to, I probably have to chat to you and figure out how to, have lots of different revenue.
Right. And all the guys that watch my live stream, you know exactly why he said that. I'm always talking about working at home and, you know, a ton of stuff that you can do to not do the 9 to 5. So, but, you know, maybe even someone in the community might hear this. Someone at Capcom or, you know, some other place may say, hey, we need a guy like this on our team to help us out. Because, again, I do like 100 zillion things. And it's only now, every now and then I get a chance to go out to an event and interview people, but you're all over the place, man. And I love the fact that you've been doing that as long as you've been doing it, and hopefully something can happen to allow you to continue to do it. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, man, you're definitely one of the people's champs in the FGC. So thank you for coming aboard on this show. We're gonna end it right here. Your boy David Gamma signing out with the one and only BornFree.
Bye.